Well, Kester Brimpong with that one, Crazy Love. You can always get a lot of these songs on YouTube. And talking about YouTube, we have a channel there. It's where we're bringing to you the AM show live. And so please go search for My Joy Online TV on YouTube. Let us know whether you're watching us. Give us some messages as well. We'll read them through you. This medium to you. And well, let's look at some of the newspapers. Mama V is here. Good morning to you, Mama V. How was your night? You had a good time?
Walker. Yeah, but it was very short.
Yeah, always will be short for you.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
If you do 4 hours of sleep, that is not good enough.
Yeah,
you have to make up somehow. Yeah.
I slept very early yesterday and slept throughout.
Good for you.
Yeah, I woke up not feeling too well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Charlie, don't start.
Yeah, I felt a
You
bit
are well.
tough. Yeah,
in
amen.
Jesus' name.
Amen, amen.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no breakdowns.
I tell you. All right, so we have to do the newspapers. You have the Daily Graphic.
Yes.
What's on top of the front pages now?
Well, so you know our president is helping the Togo with mediation.
We're told that he's becoming
talks
Ben Chambers now.
with the whole Togo situation.
Right.
So that's obviously on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. It says President Akufo-Addo intervenes in Togo's political impasse. It's not an easy one, and so we're all backing him. Hopefully, we'll be able to seal these deals. So President Akufo-Addo with Jean-Pierre Fabre, one of the leaders of Togo's opposition parties, in a handshake. That's the picture captured with this headline on the front page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. Also, 51% Ghanaian ownership of ECG problematic, of course, according to the consortium. We'll get in details of that. Kolebu pays 1.2 million Ghana cedis electricity bill monthly. And then tax stamp still born is a question, a big question. Beverage companies here to install stamp fixing machines. I did try, made an attempt to explain this. It's very complicated to ask the ordinary people. But let's see how we can break it down. Let's start off page 16 in the Daily Graphic newspaper on this story about Ghanaian ownership of ECG. Reportedly problematic. Why? Story says one of the consortiums building to partner the government in the running of the Electricity Company of Ghana has described as problematic the latest requirement that any company wishing to participate in the concession must have 51% Ghanaian ownership. So the consortium comprising CH Group Limited, EDF, and Veolia Africa says the current arrangement significantly impacts on the group's ability to structure a workable solution under the concession. They're able to do it elsewhere. Why can't they do it in Ghana? Start all over again. Yeah. Is it Dubai also where you must have, I'm not sure about the percentages, but a good number of people must come from that region.
Yeah, true. Even in let's say Ghana, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, they do that as well. You need to have some percentage of local ownership. I believe around 10%.
They're calling for
if you're bringing some foreign direct investment. So, but it depends on maybe they want to have some management equity in such a way that they can take decisions because they feel they are bringing so much. But we also need to make sure we do it the right way. I think 51% Ghanaian ownership is better.
They're calling for a 20%. So they're calling on governments and MIDA to return to the initial arrangement, which required local participation in the concession to be 20%.
It means that local participation in the concession, it means we only have 20%.
Well, it looks like that was the earlier arrangement,
yes,
except that we
know.
kind of changed the terms, and they're calling for that because they also say that such restrictions will ultimately impact the bankability of the concession. Are we not a sovereign state? I mean, if we decide to do something, who are you to tell us how else we should do it? But then again, we're still begging, aren't we? Okay, so that's it with this story on page 16 in the Daily Graphic newspaper. Curious, Kolebu is spending 1.2 million Ghana cedis on electricity alone. It says the acting chief executive officer of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, Dr. Felix Anya, has called for government intervention to resolve the high cost of power the hospital is faced with. He indicated that the hospital paid 1.2 million Ghana cedis every month for only operational power and stressed that that was not sustainable considering its monthly income. Quotes, we're making huge losses due to the power situation here, on quotes. But good, he was in a conversation with the Health Minister, Kwajiman Menu, who paid a working visit to the hospital yesterday. And then in the center spread, the story is in the center spread of the paper. There's President Akufo-Addo intervenes in Togo's political impasse. That's the main story in the center spread of the newspaper. So President Akufo-Addo exchanging pleasantries with one of the leaders of Togo's coalition of 14 opposition parties. And then you also find an insect of a section of the parties at the opening ceremony of the dialogue. Charlie, this is such a big deal, and it's no joke. Will we be able to do it?
I'm not too sure.
This has been...
Because the thing is that because of Fonya Singbe and the demands that the opposition is looking out for, and Fonya Singbe is almost like a colleague of President Akufo-Addo. You know, Charlie, you don't contest this election. You just give them limits as far as the presidency is concerned and all that. I don't know. But
we'll see.
It's making sure that we have a truce, because it looks as if very often there are these agitations that makes the country a bit unstable many of the times.
Definitely. So we're told that the meeting is aimed at, or was, at kickstarting a formal dialogue process between the 14 opposition parties and the incumbent administration to find ways by which the impasse between the two could be brought to an end. Sometimes if you're sitting where we sit, it almost looks like it's only out of office, as in the certain president leaving. That's the only way that they can solve it. But who knows?
Because the difficulty he faces is that he took over from his father. So it's like one continuum, right?
Yeah.
Just a continuum, really.
Interesting. Back page of the Daily Graphic newspaper. 2 northern communities benefit from Japanese grants, and then African scientists brainstorm agricultural productivity. But I think I skipped page 3 because of this tax stamp question that's on the front page of the paper. It says the rollout of the tax stamp policy on March 1 faces a last-minute snag following a stalemate that has arisen between the government and businesses over the mode of implementation. So while affected businesses are proposing a digital system that will electronically emboss the stamps on all excisable products, the government has opted for the fiscal affixing of the stamps by a specialized machine in the course of production. As a result of this apparent misunderstanding, the Executive Secretary of the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana, Samuel Agri, told the Daily Graphic that the association would petition the presidency and parliament to help find an amicable solution to the matter, and they should. It's not like buying a certain machine that's going to... Why is somebody pushing their personal agenda here? Forcing the manufacturing companies, particularly the beverage companies, to buy a certain machine to emboss this tax stamp.
Is that the only machine that can do the embossment, or perhaps?
Good question. But they're also asking for the digital embossment. Yeah.
All right. Because if they already have some printing or some code, maybe decoding machines, etc., or generation machines, then why do you need to?
The worry is that there's a certain advert that's saying that if you don't find the stamp on the products, don't buy it. Yeah. So
I know. We hope that they resolve this as quickly as they can, because people work in these beverage companies, and they have to make sure that the companies move on, and they also move on with their lives.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, let's do the Times then.
So we do the Ghanaian Times. On the front page is about the Togo crisis, and its caption, Togo crisis must end. President appeals to political party leaders in the Republic de Togo. We have Petroleum Commission takes measures to enforce local content in petroleum upstream sector. What does this mean? It's big English. Let's try and get it. It says that
upstream, those are the big guys.
I know. There's no local content there at all. And even the catering, I hear.
Really?
They don't
even catering?
Well, they are so-called Ghanaian company, but they're really not Ghanaian.
Yeah.
They're owned by foreigners in a way. So as if we can't cook.
Classic.
Right? All right.
Well, they're all experts, so
yeah, I mean that's what I mean.
They like their foods in a certain way.
Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I get you absolutely.
The Petroleum Commission will, from April this year, step up measures in enforcing local content and participation in the country's petroleum upstream sector. Effective that month, all international companies in the sector to submit to the Commission for approval their proposed contract at least 3 months before they are awarded. This is to enable the Commission thoroughly review all the documents, including the advertisement of the bids, to ensure that local companies were not deliberately disadvantaged. We hope that.
Do we have the expertise, though?
Yeah, I think we can put together great expertise.
Yeah,
the
we
thing
can,
is,
but do we?
I think we can.
That's always been the question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
even our graduates crowd, we have locally issues, and you have top business executives sometimes coming out to say that they don't even like first-class students because it sounds like some of them may have bought the certificate because they don't reflect the results that they carry from the universities to the companies.
Anyway. Let me just keep my mouth shut. Page 3, it says court frees Achimota student convicted for killing mate. And that's a very big issue. We're discussing it on here on our discussion segment this morning. On the back page, Japanese ambassador inaugurates another project in the northern region. And the project is just 320,000 Ghana cedis. And apparently it is the Japanese ambassador to Ghana, to Tomo Himeno, has inaugurated a pediatric ward in the Zabzugu Government Hospital at Zabzugu in the northern region. Tourism Investment Forum opens in Accra. You have a picture there of Mrs. Catherine Apaku, who is interacting with Nenyi Gate, the 7th. All right. So let's now go to the Daily Guide before we go on to the Finder newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Guide, it said, Nana serious about corruption, says Rawlings. Achimota student killer freed. And then we have French consortium rejects ECJ policy. President wade into Togo crisis. But let's go to page 3 of the paper. And it talks about former President Jerry John Rawlings.
Because of the appointment of
has
Mr.
noted
Martin
that the selection of Martin Alamisi Benz Kaiser Amidu as special prosecutor is an indication that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the President of the Republic of Ghana, is serious about fighting corruption in the country. I'm looking for a quote. Okay, so apparently the former president, in a meeting with the ambassador of Japan to Tomo Himeno, said the appointment of Hamidu as special prosecutor from outside his own party shows the president is serious. It vindicates some of us.
Yeah.
You know how he said
that was the quotes.
Yeah, that's the quote.
Vindicates some of us.
Yeah, even the first one to his quote.
Okay.
Puts in his quote. All right, so those were the stories we have. But let's look at center spread. Center spread of the news one pull out of the Daily Guide. It says Kojo Q and Shika hit big up with Up and Awake.
What's that? I'm
thinking it's a song. Kojo Q is one of the top artists in Ghana.
Oh, you don't know? Okay, well.
Which song?
If you say top artist, I don't know. You know, we have a lot of underground people who are not necessarily even underground any longer because they've been in the system. Maybe they're on the surface somewhere, not exactly
like
up.
Kaboom.
But Lil Shaker is...
Shaker.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have no state burial for Ebony, and then I never had sex with Miss V, that's Richie Mensah. All right, so those are the stories we have.
All right, let's follow up with the Finder newspaper, shall we? On the front page of the Finder is a reality that hits all of us, really. Once in a while, you kind of think about it. Affordable housing not feasible. Greater Vice President blames situation on state institutions. We'll get into details of that. Nanado rallies
affordable housing is not...
But it's not feasible. They are talking about...
But what is affordable housing? How much in Ghanaian terms?
Okay,
Ghana City will be is affordable?
Well, good question. how much in Ghanaian cedis will be? But they're talking about the fact that you need a land. You know the issues with land. You need the social amenities. You need the roads because you have to get the infrastructure. And that's because you can't rely on the state. If the state was clearing all lands,
we don't want, let's say, like the roads like the way it's in Regiment or not something like that.
Why don't you want that?
No. I'm talking about just nice house let's say decent house.
Like a normal decent house.
Yeah, let's say a one-bedroom house.
But you wouldn't have any amenities there. You wouldn't have. You
need lights.
You don't want.
You need lights.
You don't want good roads. You don't want the police station. You don't want.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
okay.
so it's all part of it. I mean, so okay. Well, let's see on page 2. This is the story. The Vice President of the Ghana Real Estate Developers Association, Regina Botche, has stated that there cannot be anything like affordable housing in the country. So, quote, she says, to build houses, you need a land, you would need to put up quality social amenities like roads, street lights, drainage systems, which are done by the developer, which ordinarily should not have been the case, unquote, she stressed. So Botche, who is also the vice chairperson for real estate developer Regimental Gray Limited, said these in an interview with the Finder after her company signed a memorandum of understanding with the HFC Bank to provide housing for Ghanaians. And that would, put us through the conversation of a mortgage, which is a headache, such a headache. Says 30% average interest rates for mortgage loans. Can you imagine? So the average interest rate for mortgage loans among commercial banks hovers around 30%. And then 85% of Ghanaians cannot afford to buy a house. So this is the breakdown. This is what you would like. Persons who earn below 4,000 Ghana cedis monthly cannot buy one-bedroom house. The survey found that worsening economic conditions have shot up prices of homes, with workers earning salaries below 4,000 Ghana cedis a month unable to buy a one-bedroom house on the outskirts of Accra. This is even outskirts of Accra. And then it also gives you a breakdown of the failure of government agencies. And then without a mortgage, it is standard for property developers in Ghana to charge at least 40% of the cost of the house upfront, with the rest due in installments before the keys to the property are handed over. So if you're buying a property worth like 300,000 Ghana cedis and they're asking you to pay 40% upfront, and when the project gets to a certain stage, you pay the rest. How are you going to do that? I mean, it's unless you have some insane kind of job that's paying you some insane kind of money, you'll be able to do this in 6 months. Yeah. But that's the reality. How many people earn even the 4,000 Ghana cedis? Because usually you even have deductions on that 4,000 Ghana cedis. And if you want to get into
and
mortgage,
the 4,000 crown,
and the 4,000, we're talking about one bedroom. I mean, how do you seriously say you're going to buy a one-bedroom house when you have that
So
many?
those who build those houses and they're earning less than 4,000, how do they get the money to build them?
Oh, I mean, like Ghana, you survive by plan, man. There are a lot of amazing people.
Corruption.
No, but there are people who bought lands. There are people who bought lands way back, and I know there are people who are taking it very slowly, and sometimes they have like maybe like a one-bedroom on the land, just a place they can lay their heads and not pay rent, at least for a while, and they continue. Some people take loans, and it tends to be, it weighs heavily on them as well. So people are surviving. Yeah, of course, there are people who have stolen monies to build houses, because there are people who are clearly spending a lot more than they earn. Yeah, you heard about the security guy imagine like a normal security bank security guy who goes to work today either driving in a Jeep, tomorrow driving in
Ghana,
like a Cayenne, another
sure?
time. Yeah, I'm serious. Like changing cars.
Security.
Yeah, apparently he was stealing.
I see.
That's happened in the Western region. He's in jail, by the way. I don't know, can we just live within our means? That would be, yeah, so that you can live for a long time and die when the Lord calls you.
Yeah.
How do you spend the rest of your life? So you imagine you steal a lot of money.
But the Lord will call you earlier to sometime when you are poor.
But listen, you spend it by heart. So can you imagine? So typical scenario. This is a security guard at a bank. Yeah.
Are you sure he goes to work with a car?
And then he has not stepped foot at Kotoka before. But when people are traveling, he gives them his bank statements to travel with. See, somebody would say that's not a smart thinking person, but
he doesn't read good books at all. Not smart.
Okay, so that's it really for the Finder newspaper. I think I'll just the whole story about the housing is just reminding us of the kind of situation that we're in.
And Mr.
Senior Minister leads delegation to Morocco, and then the Kolebu story is also here in this paper. The 1.2 million monthly electricity bill, that is choking the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, is also on the front page of the Finder newspaper. And then Amido's appointment shows seriousness in fighting corruption, according to former President Jerry John Rawlings. Roland has the dispatch.
The dispatch. I saw a story there. It said nothing is impossible. Neymar insists that Paris Saint-Germain can still qualify for the Champions League despite losing 3-1 to Real Madrid in the first leg. I don't think they can.
No, to be fair, if Real Madrid scores you 3-1, Charlie, that shouldn't be like news. We know that, yeah, they're big players. They've spent so much. There's Neymar there. But still, Real Madrid, Charlie, that's a very experienced team.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Champions League is experience, though. Because even their local league, where are they in their local league, Real Madrid? But when they're playing the Champions League, it's a whole different ballgame.
And they've been there. They've won it back-to-back.
So don't be too hard on PSG.
Well, yeah, true. We don't have to be. But let's go to the online portals. Go to myjoyonline.com and see whether we can get some stories there. But we're ready ourselves.
Why are you fast forwarding us? Okay, it's 51 minutes after 6. I get it. But the Business and Financial Times, whilst we get ready to bring you myjoyonline.com, our website, by the way, insurance industry to publish claims paid on annual basis. ECG Bidding Consortium rejects 51% local content policy. That's the story that's running through quite a number of the newspapers today.
We'll discuss that this morning.
Private pension funds hits 9.7 billion Ghana cedis. That includes you and I, yeah? But experts want funds used for prudent investment. Yeah, we all do. Private pension funds have maintained their strong growth over the years, reaching
so the private pension fund, they are in the account of private trustees?
Yeah.
So what if they collapse? If they go bankrupt, what do we do?
I'm sure the regulator is checking them, aren't they?
Hey.
I would rather put my money there than to take it to Snates. Yeah, which one would you like?
Yeah, I love private though, but I'm just questioning. I mean, just in case you know. No, Snates, they owe me about 300 Ghana cedi their pension.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, some big director, I met a big director, he was a chief director when he told me he was earning 1,000 Ghana as pension.
Yeah.
And the man was big when he was chief director.
I also know about he was a GES regional director, Ghana Education Service, and imagine he's retiring and getting 500 Ghana cedis.
1,000 Ghana.
Yeah, that's almost like an insult. Yeah.
Let's just say one winter, that's a pressure war. So
that's how well they use our pension.
Now, last one.
That's how
1,000 Ghana. Can you pay school fees?
That's how well.
Anyway, let's go to
myjoyonline.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are two stories that we will also share with you when we go international. Iceland is probably going to be the first European
I was hearing
country.
some soundbites yesterday on the BBC.
Yeah.
What were they saying about circumcision?
We will get there. They want to criminalize
circumcision.
Okay, on myjoyonline.com, Ghana urged diversify educational system for rapid growth. That's a story on myjoyonline.com.
I think it should be Ghana urged to diversify education. Don't you think so?
Yeah? Okay. All right. Let's move on. 43% of Ghanaian adults obese
including
or
me.
Overweight, according to a study. So 43% of Ghanaian adults are either overweight or obese. A joint study conducted by two universities, that's the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology.
And the other one.
Which is the other one? be fair. Okay, if you click on the story, you find the details of that, but they are local universities. Professor Tuguba research, judiciary's reaction has been charitable. Oh, that's according to Yaopong, who is a private legal practitioner. So the conversation still continues. Superstitious mob attacks BBC journalists in Malawi. Police in Malawi are hunting for vigilantes who assaulted a BBC film crew this past weekend after accusing the reporters of being vampires. This issue has come up again. Remember Malawi and the vampires? Do you remember, Roland? It's like a movie where people just suspect you of being vampires and they just pounce on you. And then if you missed the news yesterday, you can always catch up on myjoyonline.com. They give you a brief after the close of every day. So there's a Monday briefing there that you can catch up with if you missed. Our Greek minister downplays impact of, quote, tiny distraction of cocoa trees. Yeah, it always happens. It's almost like when you sit at the top, you don't see clearly. Let's move on. Family of murdered Achimota student demands an appeal. The family of an Achimotan student who was shot dead by her colleague is urging the state to appeal a high court decision which discharged the juvenile convict. According to, they missed one step of the procedure. And I say, why the family should sue the states? Because basic procedures, you should know. You should know it. And in a murder situation, you can't take a lawyer. It's the state that's prosecuting. It becomes a state issue, and because the boy has been sentenced to 3 years, but it's a correctional facility, and then suddenly this has been reversed because the state missed one basic procedure. Basic. Interesting. Ghana could be using the is it Iyoko? No, Isio. Which one is that? Echo. Ghana could be using the Echo by 2020.
Hey, we are back to the same thing.
Listen, have I told you before that one of my projects was on the Echo? And we had to come up with a jingle, do LPMs. How do you get people to familiarize themselves with it? That was way back.
Like
how many
2000
years
and
now?
something. During the
Echo, Charlie Massa forgets.
I've done a number of reports.
It is a dream, eh?
It is a dream, yeah. You watch Black Panther?
No, I haven't. I haven't, but I should see it. I should see
That's how they were speaking the English.
Yeah.
It's a dream, eh?
I should see it so that we can talk about it on Friday. Yeah.
So don't challenge authority. Military wants, but I love these people.
But military, Ghana military, I love the military. I absolutely do love the military. I'll tell you two things. So there's a military officer who is a friend. His children go to the same school as mine. And sometimes he picks up his children in uniform. Other times he's in mufti. When he's in mufti, he buys yogurt. I guess the yogurt seller had not noticed that it's the same guy who wears uniform. So he buys yogurt one fine afternoon. And you know how the kids can stress you, so sometimes you forget yourself. He didn't pay. The dude was standing there. The man got in his vehicle. He didn't say, boss, you haven't paid me, Master Wuntia. He couldn't. He was just standing there. The guy drove, got to Fiesta rather. He remembered that, Charlie, I didn't pay the yogurt guy. And then he asked himself, but why didn't the guy remind me that I didn't pay? And then he realized that, Charlie, it must have been the uniform. But listen, I love the military. But I'm not sure they are supposed to interact with civilians. How dare you take somebody's salt and just throw it into the drain?
Since last year, August, the contractor had been trying to get the AMA, the ministry, to relocate these traders. They come 30 minutes, they say they kill it. Soldier for them one time. One time.
But I think that still is not fair.
No,
I think
I'm not saying it is fair.
We should stick to the processes.
Yeah.
We should be.
The process is delayed. It's a shithole continent. If you don't do it fast,
it's not.
It's a big problem.
It's not bad
I don't agree.
Bad language, but under
it's a
no
shithole continent.
And then we have an assembly.
No.
We should follow. We should follow procedures.
Since August, let's have the soundbite. We have the soundbite of the man. If we can get the soundbite to the Malam market. Yes.
No, I get it. They've got everybody has.
Since last year, contractor.
Everybody is on a legitimate cause. I'm just saying. I mean, where was the police?
Oh.
What? We moved away from police enforcing laws to military men. Like I...
Good morning, Bruce. we give you respect. So therefore come no back.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Because I mentioned the Iceland, it will be appropriate to at least share that story with you on the circumcision, the plan that they are taking to ban and make it criminal. I can't imagine that.
Iceland?
And the reason in Iceland. So let's play to you what we have. And this been picked from YouTube, the plans. Okay, so Iceland might be the first European country to outlaw male circumcision. A bill is currently in the Iceland parliament. It says circumcision violates the rights of young boys. Roland, do you hear that? It violates the rights of young boys.
I'm proud that my parents circumcised me.
Equating it to the practice of female genital mutilation. Interesting. And then parents could be sentenced to prison for carrying out the procedure. So it's one big conversation in Iceland, and you know, the Jews and Muslims.
Yeah,
Roland. Okay, so this is one of the big conversations. But listen, how do you equate this to female genital mutilation in any way? What babies, and they are saying that let them grow so that they can make their own decisions.
But that's painful for them.
How is that? And then, but you know, the Muslims especially are saying this is a culture. This is not just, this is culture, man. I mean, it's just like saying that you're banning it in Ghana. Like, seriously? So people have to travel outside the country to do this. All right, this is where we have to end it because we have to bring you sports. You're watching the AM show. Stay with us. We've got massive conversations coming up. This Achimota students, this boy has been let loose now because of something that the state didn't do right. We will discuss the ECG, 20%, 51%. Yeah, we will discuss Martin Amidu as well. We've got 2 lawyers from Parliament, and so it would be good. We'll have a great conversation. Hopefully, or maybe it can graduate into a debate, but whichever way, you'll have a good time on our show, we promise you. Stay with us.
It will be good. Hey,